things order. I call the meeting to order, organizational meeting of January 13th, 25, for the Bethel School Board. With roll call, Mrs. Ernest.
Here.
Mrs. Kelly. Mr. Kennedy.
Here.
Mr. Lighty.
Here.
Mr. White.
Here.
Do you want to for the record, or, I'm sorry, we'll do the pledge allegiance.
Go ahead.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, we'll just make note that Mrs. Kelly is absent today due to personal reasons. We do expect her to return to the next meeting.
The next order of business would be the election of officers. I guess I would hear a nomination for president.
I nominate Stephanie Earl. I move to close nominations.
Do I have a second to close nominations? Any discussion, I guess, before we close nominations? If not, I'll call the roll. Mr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Lighty?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mrs. Ernest?
Yes.
So now I would have a motion to elect Mrs. Ernest as president for calendar year 25.
So moved.
I've got a motion from Rick. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second from Phil. Any discussion? If not, I'll call the roll. Mr. Lighty?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mrs. Ernest?
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy?
Yes.
At this time, I will do the oath of office for the president. Just raise your right hand. There. You raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Ohio, that you will faithfully and impartially discharge your duties as president in and for the Bethel School District, Allen County, Ohio, to the best of your ability, and in accordance with the laws now in effect and hereafter enacted during your continuance in said office and until your successor is chosen and qualified?
I do.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Okay. So next up on the agenda are nominations for vice president.
I nominate Mike White.
Any other nominations? Okay. Do I have a motion to close nominations?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, roll call?
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mrs. Ernest?
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Lighty?
Yes.
Okay, next up, do I have a motion to elect Mr. Lighty as vice president for calendar year 25?
So moved.
Is that you, Rick? I'm sorry.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, roll call?
Mrs. Ernest?
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Lighty?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Okay. Oath of office for the vice president.
Trip.
All right, would you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear and affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Ohio, and that you will faithfully and impartially discharge your duties as Vice President in and for the Bath Local School District, Allen County, Ohio, to the best of your ability and in accordance with the laws now in effect and hereafter enacted during your continuance in said office and until your successor is chosen and qualified?
I do.
Congratulations.
White as chair and Mrs. Kelly as member. And for policy, Mr. Lighty as chair and Mr. White as member. Okay, next on the agenda is the student achievement liaison. Mrs. Kelly has volunteered for that, so if there's no other volunteers, no issues with that, we'll assign her those duties. Number C, legislative liaison. Mr. White, you've graciously volunteered for that.
I have.
Do we have an alternative that we wanna? Anyone wanna volunteer to be an alternate? Okay. All right, so next up on the agenda is superintendent consent agenda. We have no items, correct, Mike?
Correct.
Okay. All right, next up is treasurer's report. No items there. Next is superintendent's report.
Okay. Item A, establish board meeting date and time. Board will meet on the third Tuesday of each month at 7 p.m. in the middle school IMC located at 2700 Bible Road, unless otherwise denoted. The date and time of the board meeting may be scheduled at the convenience of the board members. And the administration and treasurer's office would respectfully request the regular monthly board meeting as scheduled during the second or third week of each month in order that the previous month's financial records can be available for the board's review at the regular meeting. The Lima News shall be designated as the official newspaper for publication of notices required by law to be made in a newspaper. All board meeting dates and times will be posted to our school calendar housed on the district website, www.bathwildcats.org. And we have the proposed schedule for the 2025 board meeting dates, 7 p.m., third Tuesday of the month, with one exception. That exception is Tuesday, June 24th. The others are as listed there. They represent the third Tuesday.
Do I have a motion to approve?
I do have a comment on
Sure,
that.
go ahead.
I've had a vacation scheduled for that June meeting for 9 months or so.
Yeah, I think, I mean, you missed one last year as well, right?
I did.
Yes,
yeah.
okay.
Well, I'm hoping it's not just, I'm hoping it's just one. but
Yeah.
There's a possibility.
Okay. Okay. So do we have a motion to approve those
I
dates?
so move.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Lighty and a second by Mr. Kennedy. Any discussion? Okay, roll call.
Mr. Kennedy? Yes. Mr. Lighty?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mrs. Ernest?
Yes. Okay, next up, reapprove treasurer as records officer. Do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Lighty?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mrs. Ernest?
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy? Yes.
Okay. Next on the agenda is establish meeting date and time for the District Records Commission. And that proposed date is July 15th, 2025 at 6 p.m. prior to the regular board meeting. Do I have a motion to approve that date and time? Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Kennedy, second by Mr. Lighty. Any discussion? Roll call?
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mrs. Ernest?
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy? Yes. Mr. Lighty?
Yes.
All right, next up is establish service fund. You guys want me to read this? Approve the below resolution certifying the student count of 1,564 for the purpose of establishing a service fund. Okay, do I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Kennedy, do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. White, any discussion?
This just notes that, basically we have dollars set aside for the boards, some of the board training, capital conference, those types of things. It just kind of notes that those dollars would be available for that. White?
Yes.
I can too. Okay, next on the agenda, adopt standing authorization of calendar year. Motion to approve the following standing authorizations for calendar year 2025, effective January 1st, 2025. Advanced on tax settlements, authorization for treasurer to secure an advance from the county auditor when funds are available and payable to the school district. Payments of bills, authorize the treasurer to pay all bills within the limits of the appropriation resolution as bills are received and when the merchandise has been received in good condition. Number 3, employment of temporary personnel, authorization for the superintendent to employ such temporary personnel as needed for emergency situations as determined by the local superintendent. Substitute personal daily rate during personal emergency to be doubled the regular substitute pay. Appointment of purchasing agent, authorize the local superintendent to serve as the purchasing agent for the school district. Number 5, use of fax signature plate, authorize the use of fax signature plate to sign all checks, salary notices, and contracts for 2025. The Bath Local School Board of Education agrees to participate in the following federal programs. 516, 572, 590, 551, and 558. Number 7, authorize the treasurer to make advances to state and federally funded programs provided funds are returned to the general fund. Number 8, public records, approve the treasurer to be the board volunteer to attend public records access training required by the board members for each term of office. Number 9, authorize the treasurer to purchase $20,000 public official bond for the treasurer's position. Number 10, the treasurer will be appointed to fulfill the public records training as required by the Ohio Revised Code. Number 11, to authorize Joel Parker, treasurer, and Mike Estes, superintendent, all financial powers at Premier Bank. Is that Premier, is it Chase, actually? Number 12, authorize as a public purchase, the purchase of food, drink, and minor gifts relating to professional development meetings, staff meetings, in-service days, opening day, appreciation days, athletic events, student incentives, or other events as approved by the superintendent. 13, letter of resignation, authorize the superintendent to accept letters of resignation prior to board meetings. Number 14, adopt existing bylaws and policies for its own operation and the operation of the school system. Okay. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved with pending change to item 11.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved by Mr. White, seconded by Mr. Kennedy. Any discussion?
And I think these authorizations are just kind of confirming a lot of the things that we are doing on a calendar year basis. Just, again, just kind of noting the activity of a lot of the things that we're already doing, but setting the, I guess, setting the procedures for the calendar year.
Okay. Roll call?
Mr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Lighty?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mrs. Ernst?
Yes. Okay, item F, board member rate of pay. Approve board members to be paid $125 per meeting with a maximum payment of 15 meetings per year. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Lighty, seconded by Mr. White. Any discussion?
Who regulates the 15 meetings a year?
ORC. It's Ohio Revised Code limitations of payment to public officers.
We only be paid for 15.
Roll call?
Mr. Lighty?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mrs. Ernst?
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Okay. Item G, legal counsel. It's recommended by the superintendent that Bath Local School Board of Education appoint Scott Scriven LLP as legal counsel for calendar year 2025 in accordance with ORC 3313.023 and 3313.47. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. White, seconded by Mr. Kennedy. Any discussion?
I think I would correct the typo on the council.
Yes. That's spelling, not
White?
Yes.
Mrs. Ernest?
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Lighty?
Yes.
Okay, next on the agenda is hearing of the public blue cards, for items not on the agenda, and we have none. Next is item from individual board members. Anyone have anything? Okay. Next is executive session. I do not believe that we have a reason to go into executive session, so next is adjournment. Our next regular meeting will be at 6:30 on the 13th, and then the following meeting will be February 18th, 2025 at 7 p.m. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So move. Second.
Moved by Mr. Lighty, seconded by Mr. Kennedy. Any discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Ernest?
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Lighty?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
6:17.
Done with 13 minutes to spare.